First of all, introducing our challenger.
Out of the blue corner.
He's going to step in and he does. It's all over.
Let's bring on the boom.
This is Eternal MMA.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Eternal Insiders. My name is Luke, and as always, I am your host, and I'm being joined right now by the reigning Eternal Lightweight Champion, fresh off his first successful title defense last weekend at Eternal 80, just a couple of days removed. It is Quillan Salkilld. Quillan, becoming a bit of a regular here, brother, this time on the back of your first title defense. How is everything feeling for you, man, just a couple of days removed from that big win?
Man, everything feels great, I feel after fights, it's like a big load off my shoulders, and I can feel like I can, finally relax. And then, can't wait to go through the whole process again.
I mean, you finally relax, but you got to come here and do the podcast and talk about the win before you can relax. So we certainly appreciate you being here as always, man. You know, I always like to ask this because I love the stories, but did we get on the rums with the old man after the win? We said we were going to. Did the old man break out the rum for this one?
We couldn't actually, but that's gonna, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Sometime this week.
It's gonna happen sometime this week, no doubt about it. It's tradition. We have to get that going. We have to get going. How's Mum feeling? We know Mum's a big fan. We know her mum is. Boy, how's Mum doing?
Oh, Mum's doing great. She's a number one fan. She's over the moon.
No doubt she'd be ecstatic, man. Of course, the big crowd, obviously, in Perth and that sort of thing, we'll talk about that. Everyone's ecstatic. Family affair, and friends and fans of Quillan Salkilld alike are obviously overjoyed with that performance, brother. I do want to talk a little bit about the fight, of course, because that's what we're here for. Yep. Give us a bit of insight, man, before we talk about the guts of it. What were you sort of feeling like in sort of the lead up to this? Let's talk about sort of the moments for the walkout. I spoke to you, obviously, last week and talked about how you were feeling coming to this camp. You were feeling good, but what were your sort of thoughts and your feelings and just your general mindset in sort of the few minutes before coming out to that fight?
Man, I was just full of confidence, man. Like I've never really felt like that calm and relaxed before a fight. Like I remember before walking out to a previous fight against Blake Donnelly, I was shitting myself, and this time was like total opposite. Like, I was like fully relaxed and just actually really excited to get out there.
Where do you think that comes from? Do you think that's a matter of just like, circumstance in the moment, or do you think that's something that you just gain from that confidence of, as you said, shitting yourself for the Blake Donnelly fight, but getting the knockout win of that one? Yeah. Do you think that's what attributes to the confidence for this fight?
I think so, man. I think just like having the belt is just, made me really grow,
I don't doubt it, man. I mean, you're growing up right before our eyes, and I mean, you're putting together this impressive win streak that you're on now, of course, as the Eternal Lightweight holder. But I mean, just on that, man, in terms of your growth, I mean, we're seeing so many different things in terms of your game. I mean, you're already so well-rounded, even in sort of the early part of your career. And I mean, you got to show that off. For the people that didn't watch, and if you didn't watch, shame on you. First time that Quillan Salkilld in his professional career has been taken to a 5-round decision fight. Whether he's winning or losing, there's only been one time he's lost in his pro career. It's always ended by a way of finish. This is the first time he's sort of gone that way, and it was a hell of a scrap, man. Hell of a dominating performance. And just on that, how sort of closely did that fight sort of go in terms of your expectations? I know you wanted the finish. I know you were going out there looking for the finish, as you always do, but was there some sort of part of you that was expecting that, given, Brett and sort of his toughness and what he brings, that you maybe thought that you were in for a 5-round war, and that's how it played out?
Yeah, leading into this one, like I could tell that this guy is a tough guy. Some guys you can just tell, and I was right. Like and they were hitting with some big shots, and he just kept moving, kept scrambling, and
kept smiling.
He was just doing just enough to stay in the fight.
Yeah, he did, man. I mean, he certainly was tough, and I mean, he came with a lot of confidence, and I mean, that was, we'll talk a little bit about this, but I mean, obviously you're not getting the finish, but it must be, in terms of a growth perspective, for your career and where you're at in your career being so young, like, outside of getting the finish, this has probably got to be the perfect way to sort of get a fight in, like a tough 5-round war. I mean, you dominate for the most parts of the fight and that sort of thing. Do you think, sort of in hindsight, you'd take this now? You know what I mean? Like, not necessarily get the finish, but get a 5-round war in now. And it's got to be sort of a level up type fight, right?
yeah, it's great to go 5 rounds. Like I've always, you know, not really wanting to, but wanting to go 5 rounds, but, always would rather, getting the job done, inside the time limit. But, going 5 rounds, going 25 minutes, it's like an assurance that, and it's just, I can actually go 5 rounds. I can do many rounds in the gym, and now I know I can actually do 5 fives of, in the actual cage.
No, I think, a lot of people, myself included, said after the fight, I mean, you went the full 5 rounds, but you looked fresh, man. Like, you look like you could go another 5 more. Yeah. It's not like you sort of stopped that fight and you look like you were struggling to breathe or anything like that. Like, you look fit, man. You look like you came in sharp and you ended that fight looking the same sort of way. Did you feel like that at the end of the fight? Did you feel fresh? Did you feel like you could keep going?
Yeah, I definitely did feel fresh coming into the last round. I got a second wind in rounds 4 and 5. Like rounds 2 and 3, I was a little bit, not necessarily tired, but my arms were like filled with blood from all the grappling, and then it ended up settling, and then rounds 4 and 5 felt really good.
Did you maybe get like a bit of, they call it sort of the adrenaline dump? I mean, we know what the Perth crowd is like. We've talked about that so much. Another big Perth sellout crowd, hometown for yourself and everything. You said you were calm before the fight, but, when you walked out and you felt that crowd and everything, did you get that sort of adrenaline come up? And then maybe did you lose a little bit of that midway part of the fight, as well as sort of having, the arms blowing up from the grappling perhaps?
I don't think so. Like, I think I was quite relaxed, like, like even walking out, like, I was amped up, but I wasn't like overly so. Like I was still like clear headed, and I think it was just like the grappling straight off the bat. Like in the first few seconds he shot, he got the takedown, and then it was just a hell of a lot of grappling from then on out, and then just like it just took a bit of time to settle into that, and then and then once I settled, it was all smooth sailing from then on out.
Yeah, so like you just said, I mean, he came out and he shot straight away and, went straight to sort of like on your back and everything. Did you think, in terms of the way the fight was going to start, were you expecting that for him, or were you thinking maybe the fight was going to play a bit standing up? Like, how did you think he was going to be like right from the get-go?
Yeah, I did expect him to shoot early on. He did time that very well, went underneath my right hand I threw, and then it was just like perfectly timed, and put me on my butt. And then, but I had full confidence that, once my butt hits the mat, I'll stay off my back, and I'll get back up on the feet, and then work on from there.
Yeah, and you did that very well at numerous parts of the fight, man. I mean, implementing your own control and a lot of your own control time on the ground, taking him down many times as well, which, very impressive. I mean, considering, what he sort of talked as far as, his game coming in, talking about, wrestling with the best people in the world every day, wrestling with Dagestanis and that sort of thing. And by the way, credit to Brett, coming over and putting it on. Certainly a tough guy and that sort of thing. You felt him, and of course in there. Like, what did you sort of feel from him in terms of like a physical perspective, matching up against him in the grappling? He's sort of being that kind of thicker sort of body, yourself being a bit more kind of taller and rangy, a bit sort of skinnier. How did you feel you sort of matched up with him from that power perspective, considering you spent so much of the time kind of manhandling each other through the fight?
Man, I felt in there, he felt no different to anyone else that I grappled. Like, it was strong from the at the very start. But like once I got in on his legs on the cage, like I felt really strong. I felt like I could just take him down at will, and that's kind of what I did. He was good like defensively. So like once he was on his back, kind of like staying safe from the submissions, and just tough. But like didn't really give up. Like there were some few submissions that were like kind of close, but he just did enough just to slip out. So it was good defensively off of his back, but in terms of full like takedown skill set, like I don't think it was all the way there.
No, I mean, I think one of the big things to come from that, right, is you reminded us, I think we kind of got that recency bias. We fell in love with, your striking game, especially considering what you did to Blake Donnelly, in your last fight. And even I asked you this question the last time we spoke. I talked about his sort of grappling versus your striking. I asked you, did you potentially think that, you were going to have the advantage in the striking versus sort of his grappling? And you said to me, and you had to remind me, myself, and everyone else that, hey, you're just as confident in your ground game as you are in your striking. You've got submission wins on your record. And so I think, you sort of reminded everyone. Did that feel like kind of even a bit of a victory within the victory, the fact that, you out-grappled the guy that was coming in with this Dagestani Sambo grappling game? That kind of feel like a win within itself.
Yeah, of course. All those accomplishments that he has, like, outside MMA, like, I don't care about, really. Like, you're coming in with, like, all this, like, catch wrestling or, like, Sambo, like, stuff, like, you're coming into MMA, it is very different, so like, I didn't really, take too much in of all these all his experience outside the MMA cage. So I just went in there and just, I showcased my whole skill set, which is everything.
No, you showed everything, man. I mean, you put on such a dominant performance, as we said, start to finish. It had absolutely everything. Like we said, I mean, going the full 5 rounds and being able to show off every single part of your game. And I mean, you chained everything together so well. I mean, even in those striking exchanges against the cage, and then, your takedowns and everything, your submission attempts. I mean, you had him pretty hurt even in that first round, because we get to the end of that first round, how close did you think, for those that didn't see, his eye was closed after the end of the first round, almost completely. Like, how cognizant of that eye being closed were you in the moment? Did you realize it was closed before the end of the bell of that first round, or was it something you only sort of noticed after the ref kind of got the doctor in the cage?
Yeah, I didn't notice it until I looked over at him in the corner. Like, we both went back to our corners, and I had a look, and I was, oh shit, like, his eye opened up. Like, that would have happened in the very last, ground and pound exchange of round 1. And then with the doctor come in, I was like, that's when I realized that it was, like, actually, quite bad. And then and obviously, had a real close look at it for the for the remainder of the 4 rounds.
Yeah, I don't doubt you were probably sort of targeting that. I mean, it would have stood out like a big target, right? I mean, what goes through your mind in that point, though, at the end of that first round when they're checking him out? Do you sort of think, like, hell, if this fight gets called off, cool, that's a stoppage win, let's sort of call it off? Or are you sort of thinking, like, man, I kind of want to keep going? I mean, from a fan's perspective, I wanted the fight to keep going. Like, I would have thought, let's not have it end this way, even though it would have been great for you regardless. Like, what was your sort of thoughts in terms of looking at that moment?
Yeah, you gotta let it roll on. Like, if you're gonna get a finish, it's gonna be like a proper one. Like
it'd almost feel anticlimactic,
like,
wouldn't it, in a weird way? Like, Yeah,
it would. But then again, it would have kept my finish rate to 100%. So now it's dropped to 80. That's a big jump. So oh well.
The percentage drops for the finishes, man, but I mean, the mustache remains undefeated nonetheless. So we're keeping that intact.
That's it.
The mustache has got to stay, man. I mean, it was looking good out there. I mean, from every angle, not just the fighting, but I mean, looking good as well. It's all part of the game. So, kudos to you from all parts there, as well, just sort of progressing through the fight too. I mean, talking about your game and your ground game that you sort of show off too. I think it was in the second or the third round. You almost sort of had that head and arm choke sort of locked in as well. Looked pretty damn close. Like, how close do you think that was to finishing the fight at that point?
Yeah, it was close. Like, it took me a little bit to work into the right angle, and then there was one moment where it was on, and then he did the correct, like, defense. Like, his arm that was trapped, he reached around, locked his hands behind his leg, and extended, and at the same time he turned away, like, he just bucked and rolled at the same time, and with that bit of sweat, he slid right out. But there was a moment where I knew it was on.
Was that just sort of the difference in the fight too? I mean, you're hunting the finish, at every possible opportunity, but he just seemed to be doing just the right things kind of when he needed to. Like, had his little moments here and there with the offense, but, when you sort of had him in danger, even with the strikes or, with the submission threats, he was just sort of doing enough to kind of get away from you. Was there a point in the fight where you thought, I'm probably not going to be able to finish this guy, it's going to go the full 5 rounds because he's just doing enough to scrape by? Or were you confident right up to the end that you perhaps could get a finish?
Yeah, man, I was trying to hunt it all the way to the end. Like, I was, oh man, like, each submission like I went for was like it was just like kind of like a test to see if he's gonna like give it to me or not. Like I know some of those attempts I wasn't in maybe like the best position, but you just go for it just to keep them on their toes to make sure that they're keeping their chin tucked or keeping their limbs safe. So yeah, like right up until the end, I was really trying to get that finish, especially coming into the last round. I knew I had like 5 minutes, but at the same time, just not rushing and not wanting to do anything like stupid. So always staying safe, staying in a dominant position, and then yeah, just went all the way, and yeah, that's it.
I mean, just to that point as well, man. I mean, I think even the commentators noted it pretty early in the fight, and this speaks to like just your maturity level. Even this early in your career, they mentioned you were chasing, so you weren't chasing a submission; it was more the position over submission, and so looking to lock it in like sort of when you could. So you weren't sort of hunting it like unnecessarily. That's not something you see a lot from people kind of your age. You know what I mean? Like you are prepared to sort of show that part of your game, whether it was going to be going like 1 round or whether it was going to be 5 rounds. And I think that played out so well from the right until the end of the fight, even though it was clear that you were the superior fighter and you pretty much outmatched him in every sort of facet of the game. Like just in terms of like your overall thought on your performance, like obviously it was such a dominant win. Like how satisfied were you with your performance, or even from your coach's perspective? You you train under Ramel Luistro at Luistro Combat Academy. Like as a team, how satisfied were you all collectively with that performance?
Yeah, well, overall, yeah, very happy with the performance. Like I knew there was a few mistakes, there's a few things that I could have done better to ensure that I would have gotten the finish. But yeah, in terms of that, like position over submission thing, like my coach Ramel has drilled that into me since day one, like not grabbing the neck and trying to flop to your back, and because you see many times that a lot of fighters lose very good positions from doing that, and then end up changing the whole dynamic of the fight just from one little exchange, one little mishap. So my grappling style is always like that. It's going to be on top, stay on top, and land ground and pound. And if the submission presents itself, then I take it.
And just on like the performance at large, man, I mean, on pretty much all the scorecards, obviously you won every single round. I think you had a 50-43 there, maybe a 50-44 or something like that. Obviously you've had finish wins outside of this in your career, or all of your wins have come by finish. But what sort of statement do you think this makes in terms of, hey, I can choke people out, I can knock people out within the first round, or I can go the full 5 rounds and dominate, from sort of start to finish? Do you think this sort of sends a big statement to anyone that you're dangerous not only in every part of the game within the fight, but no matter the distance in the fight, you're going to be dangerous absolutely everywhere, no matter the time?
Of course, man. Yeah. Now I've shown that I can get the job done early. I can get the job done, over 5 rounds. I can get the job done on the feet, on the ground. Like, yeah, there's no facet of the fight where, I'm not capable of winning.
And just on the timeline, the last one for you, brother, before I let you go. I mean, the last conversation we had, you said that, you get through this one here, you get the win. David Martinez would be sort of next in line. Of course, David Martinez, sitting out at the moment, nursing himself back to health and everything. But you said that you'd like to face him next, being that he's sort of the next in line. You said Josh Togo was another name that you'd like to have on your resume as well, as far as getting through those guys. And then you'd be 7-1 in your career. Is it safe to say that we're on track for that now?
Yeah, we're definitely on track. I'm pretty sure that David Martinez is going to be next early next year. So I can't wait to get there.
And just on that, man, because I mean that's a hell of a matchup. I mean, just two of the best guys in the country. Yourself, obviously the best lightweight in the country at the moment. Huge prospect, looking to go on and do bigger and better things. But like, what do you sort of see when you look up against that matchup with David? Is David someone you've had your eye on for a long time? Obviously, David's a little bit older. But how do you sort of forecast that match? Like, what excites you about that one?
It excites me in terms of that's like, yeah, it's a big name in the lightweight division, but yeah, that's about it. Just another stat and another green tick on my record, just to get me closer to the UFC.
The goal remains the same, man, and you're well on track for that. So very exciting things in your future, as always. Quillan Salkilld defends his title against American Brett Pastor in incredible fashion at Eternal 80 and roll on next year to hopefully that fight against David Martinez. And we'll see what comes beyond then for a big career in line for Quillan Salkilld. So as always, Quillan, thanks for joining me in the show. As always, you're becoming a bit of a regular here, and no doubt we're going to have you on plenty more times. Enjoy the downtime that you should have now. Relax, enjoy everything, and we'll see you on the next one, man. No doubt ahead of that potential fight with David Martinez to defend your strap once again.
Thanks, Luke. Thanks for having me on.